What's up, everybody? Howdy. Yes, thank you for tuning in to We'll Fix It team. So, thank you for watching the videos on my little car I'm working on at the house. Matter of fact, I have a box of parts over here working out some stuff. It doesn't look like much, but we've got brake shoes in the wheel cylinder, well, brake shoes and a fuel pump right there. Then I'm sure you guys are familiar with that truck there. Maybe that's my 78 460. Got a 460 towing cam. Like a 289 rear end or a 273 rear end in the back, geared pretty high. So a lot of fun that truck is, guys. Anyways, here's a box of stuff going on that my Galaxy 500. I had to think for a minute there. But what we're working on today is this is what we got going on this week. This is an all-week project. This is an 08 Ford, and I'm going to be putting a motor in it. Maybe y'all have seen some of the videos where it's been in the shop here, but we've got everything lined up so far as work out there. That's going to be, it's going to be kind of on the side for a minute while we take time to get this done. I don't think I have to jack the body up on this one here. I think it's just going to come out the front. Did a little bit of research, and the 150s and 250s you have to jack the body up because there's just no way. But I think on this one here, there's plenty of got plenty of height right there for that motor to come up out of there to get past the engine support. So let me flip the camera around real quick. So here we are. I've already got a little bit of a start on this thing, but wanted to give you an idea of where we're at. And I removed the intake to improve clearance there. Also, it makes it real super easy to get to those bell housing bolts. That intake is not very hard to get off once you actually get into taking this thing down. The original problem with this thing, and we'll do a video of the tear down of this motor. This is a 5.4 liter. And it has the 3-valve motor. I'll give you an idea what the valve train looks like. And what happened is on this one here, let's see if I can get a little light. It dropped a rocker arm. Well, the valve, something happened with the valve and it stuck down, which then in turn shot the rocker arm out from underneath there, and the lifter was laying off out here. And the valve is actually in its down position, and that piston just beat that thing to death. And so there's no... The repair of this motor would have to, it's probably got the piston, I would imagine. It's damaged it beyond use. These lifters were bad about giving trouble on some of these motors. They'd start getting loose and start ticking. And then, well, eventually it'll get so loose that the rocker arm, it shoots it out from underneath there and breaks the top of the little keeper off of the spring. And then there's no spring to keep the valve closed. And then the rest is history after that. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And so pulling the front off, I just actually got that's the radiator support that goes across the top. But I removed the AC coil that was here. There's a power steering cooler. There was a transmission cooler laying over here. I got it off. So far, if it comes out like I think, guys, it's going to be a pretty nice little walk in the park as far as like getting in there, because it was actually pretty nice being able to go right to the front of this thing. So we'll see what happens, guys. I'll kind of do some more video here. I'll set this phone, or not this phone, it's a camera, guys. It's a camera with a phone mounted in it. Remember that. It's all about precision. And you can kind of see me going. I've got to get the AC compressor off and some bolts underneath the bottom. So I'll do a few videos and you can kind of see how this all progresses. Here is the motor that'll be going in it, sitting right here. It's a good used unit. That's about all we can do because I can't even find a reman engine. Nobody's got one. I gotta have to work what we got, guys. So anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Just wanted to kind of give you an update of what's happening on the We'll Fix It team. And we just love all the new subscribers and the wonderful support we get out there. And as you can hear, that was a horn from a cool customer that comes by here. I got people that ride by and honk the horn and show me a lot of love. So, gosh, it's nice. Thank you, guys. Lots of love. Guys in control. Good evening, folks. Alrighty, so a little bit of a timeline of what's going on with our motor swap, okay? Please excuse the loud Whoopi Goldberg in the back. Have you ever met Whoopi Goldberg before? I don't know. She comes and visits from time to time just to check on projects. But here she is. Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah. Anyhow, she must be talking on the phone right now, so you can't, she won't answer any questions. But anyhow, so what we've got here is, as you can see, in case you first time see this video, looks like this motor's going to come right out of the front. I've got a lot of it already took off. You've seen before. I've got the intake off of it. Let's take a step up in here. Hope I don't slip and fall. All right, here we go. So we've got, I could reach all these other bell housing bolts really easily from the top with the intake removed. And got all the lines loose. Here's the harness off of the motor. Well, I'll put that back. But there's all the wires and stuff that go for the harness. And it'll just set right back over all this once I put it back together. Plug back into the ECM over there. There's part of this is your transmission harness back here, and I just tucked it out of the way. That's a bypass hose that went in the center of the engine. It laid in there like that, and I just got it out of the way because it sticks up so high. And I can say this thing had dropped a valve, in case you were watching. I did a video earlier, but there's the missing rocker arm down in this little area right there. Let's take a look up underneath, guys, and try not to fall. Slick on this. And what we've got here is they put some nice little handy holes to get those AC compressor bolts for the front of that, for the compressor itself. And I did the Liberty. You don't have to, but I just have a habit of doing this ever since I messed with a Chrysler one time and the flywheel bolts weren't the same. It took me like all but every single bolt to get it right before I figured out the bolt. But a little white out, and I just do that. But one thing you want to do when you remove these torque converter bolts is take a little pry bar, and you want to make sure you push the stud of the torque converter, make sure it slides back and out of the crankshaft, so when you pull the motor out, you don't pull the converter with the transmission, make a huge mess and damage possibly the front pump end or seal. Exhaust is all unbolted there. Starter's out of the way. Oil filter, I've got all the big bolts off for the engine mount. So, and I do believe I won't have any trouble at all with how high the engine's got to go up to get there. I think I can get it up out of there. There's some bolts you can't really get to on this if I can get in there, but if you pull that heat shield off, you can pull that plate off. And I've maybe had to pull one plate off that one side. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see about that. But my main goal is hopefully it'll just kind of lift up high enough without having to move the body up. It's a big room under there for just like considering the front grille is way over here. It's almost a mid-engine truck, guys. It's like there's where the front grille normally would be, and here's the motor. I don't know, half van, half truck. But in a little bit, I'm going to take lunch. You won't even know it because I'm going to stop the video, but it'll cut right back to it, and you'll be like, wow, super editing hack sword skills. We'll get the engine hoist hooked up. I'll get that thing behind me right here all set up right here. Slide it in, and we'll get it leveled up. We'll pull this thing out, and I can try to set the my camera up that's mounted. This is on a well-oiled machine here, and we'll get the start lifting it out of there in real time, and you can see that happen. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. I think it will. Usually does, but maybe we'll. And if something bad happens, we won't edit it out. We'll let it roll. You can see the bloopers with the good stuff. So thank you guys. I'll be right back. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be copyright infringement with the. Oh, you can get any. I don't. This is on a picture.
I want to get out of the way of the view.
But you had such a pretty booty, though. It's like, wow. You should see his legs. He's got sexy legs. 60. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 68. Yeah, 68. Come up a little bit more. Stick something in that hole.
Oh yeah, plug it up.
Yeah, plug the hole up. Trying to keep making a mess, but
It's hard to. I think you pull the motor out of one, you don't need nothing on the floor.
yeah, you done really well if you don't. Nothing on the floor.
Real well. I think
That was an imaginary motor you pulled out.
I rarely have. I think it's ever happened. Put it down with the horse.
Sort of. Oh, there we go.
Oh, still hung in there.
There's a lot of water.
Where the bucket is?
It's too late.
Right here. Ah, damn it, where to put it?
It'll be alright. That's why I mean, it's really nowhere to even put it. I'm just going to have to. Luckily, we've got a pretty good selection of old rags.
There you go. Some mop up. Just mopping up.
It's actually kind of working in my favor just a little bit because that makes the oil pan clear.
Okay.
Hanging down. I'm gonna bring it up just a little
Oh,
bit.
this thing, yeah. You gonna bring the front up?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a little strappy strap.
Oh, okay. Got the strap. Well, that guy brought you some pins.
Yeah, that's that dude. That was that customer that did that. One that was like, my overdrive light's on.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you just put that button right there on the steering wheel.
Yeah, my 99 Ranger's got the button right on the end of the gear stick. Yeah, he says I'm gonna bring some pins. These things you didn't like that, didn't have none of them. Well, I'm going ahead and get something and get out of your way.
Oh, you're in the way. You can hang out. I think about starting then.
Oh, I'm in that holler. That pizza I ate last night, you know,
You ate pizza?
supper.
I hadn't ate pizza in a while. I got pizza out.
Yeah, I can't eat once in a while. I'm like that too. Got one old red Burns and I throw some extra mozzarella cheese on it. But the meat. I'm like that on pizza. I need it once in a while. I don't want it all the time. I get burnt out on it quick.
Yeah, there we go.
Skip it. What we do have to find him. Really, that's the parker I want. Artie's never got a fish sandwich yet.
You know what now?
Artie's never got a fish sandwich.
Yeah, they did. They were. Remember, I got us one from up there.
Yeah, I want to still got it.
Oh, one of them still got it. Now that's a good question.
Yeah, because they're bad about that. In stores like that, or get them, then next thing you know, don't have no more.
Yeah, we know you like that a lot, so we took that off.
Yeah.
But we got this baby back rib sandwich that's going to give you the baby back shit.
Damn, I ain't never eaten one.
I won't. I don't understand how they have ribs. It looks like there's rib, but there's no rib.
Ain't no rib.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm not eating. I won't touch McDonald's anyway. You can hang that up.
I don't either. I quit eating there altogether.
Yeah. Damn thing, a line. There is a line that goes.
Yeah.
When I got back from Virginia getting those hit and miss motors, I stopped at the McDonald's store in Carson just so he could grab a few things and all. And man, there were so many people in that line for McDonald's. I was thinking to myself, oh Lord, have mercy.
It ain't that damn good. I don't know why.
It's not. Everybody said, man, as soon as you get a hold of McDonald's, you're like, you sit there and go, oh. It's almost like screwing without a rubber, you know. You have to, you drive home real quiet, going, man.
That going on your phone? What you say?
Yeah, that's okay. I got a good base of audience though.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife would be like, "What are you talking about?" You know how it is, honey. She'll say, "No, I don't." So here we go. I got my motor. Motor. That's how you say it around here. You say motor.
Motor.
Yeah, M-O-T-O-A. Or wait, M-O-T-A. Motor.
Motor. Feel like that same oil pan.
Let's see what we got. All right, let's see. Here we are. It took. There it is. The non-focusing phone.
I had 6 bolts on the hood.
Yeah, it did. Missing one of them though. When I got into working on it, one of them was completely missing.
Oh, somebody left it out.
That's what I'm saying. Everything. This is not the first motor this truck's had in it. Sure enough. But isn't that neat that it came up out off of these right here, not having to move those?
Oh,
A lot of times I have to take these out or the plates off the side.
A lot of them you do.
So now all I got to do is set this motor on this rolly cart over here, get it out of the way, move the other one in front, and start.
Gotta get the intake off.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if it's got all the studs on the exhaust. Probably half the time they're broke. Yeah, I'll check that out real good and see.
Manifold.
Yeah. Alrighty, got to get a dowel pin out. My favorite. This is my favorite. I like doing this. I don't want to crush the poor old thing, but I do want to get a grip on it. There we go. Press that on. Yeah, there we go. I have to grab this. Lineup pin for the back of this was missing off the other motor. Well, I'm getting this one ready to go in. I've already kind of taken. I would like to do more videoing, but sometimes customers walk in, and so I have to stop the videos. But this was a complete engine. I need to get some of that off so I can get it back in there. But this dowel pin's got to go in right there. So I don't know if I can set this up good enough. You can see what I'm doing. You kind of see me there. Bear with me. This is a shoestring production here, guys, but oh, there we go. Here. We'll get us something to insulate that hammer pit. handle that. Now, alrighty. All right, so I'm gonna get this off of my hoisty hoist because we're pretty much done with this. I don't need a whole lot more off of that. I'm gonna swap a few sensors. That sensor was broken from the salvage yard when they took the motor out, I guess. And I'll just take the one off of this motor because it was fine. What happened to this one was just a lifter issue. And so now we can get a little better look at it in here now. You can see the valve spring here is missing that there, and you can see the rock arm itself was, oh my goodness. So when I get this all done, we'll do a video of a teardown of what happened and what this engine looks like after you drop a valve on this thing. And I'll give you an idea of what some of these timing chains look like in the front of these 5.4s, because a lot of these give trouble and there's a lot of people who really don't know what's going on in there. And I'll give an explanation on variable valve timing, what some of these parts do in conjunction with some of the stuff on the front of this camshaft to give you optimal valve timing for engine RPM and performance. But like I say, that'll be another video. We just want to get this one in, get it going, and then what we'll do is I'll sit down and I'll just strip this down. I'll set the phone camera up, and you can see in real time what things look like and how they work. And that's basically how I got where I'm at these days, right? It was me watching videos of things of how they looked and what they did and how they worked. And I did that my first part of my years coming up. And I don't see kids doing that. Very seldom do you see kids interested in what makes things do what they do. They're ready to use stuff, but they don't really care how it works or what makes it do what it do, and when it stops, how to fix it. They just can't wait to throw it away and get something else. So it's definitely really cool to get involved and sort of see how things really work. So thank you. We'll be right back in a second. Hello, everybody. So here we are. Getting ready to start putting this motor in, but just kind of getting a few things ready. Let me flip the camera around. See. So I want to get that stud out. Well, and so there's a nut on the back side of it, and I believe I'll get that out so that I can just, because this has a good, you always want to remove these out of here. Don't ever, you can forget about that. Yeah, get that out. I want to use this stud. It's got the same manifolds on it. These things you're going to take off the manifolds and bolts will break off. And then you'll have a mess. So we're going to get that off of there right quick. Let me just set us up so we can kind of see what's going on here, guys. I'm just looking at something from a prior job there. Yeah. pretty well. Now, I'm kind of getting the top of this motor ready here, just cleaning up, getting ready for to put it in. Just got to clean its carbon off, and I'll get some new plenum seals for that intake that's going to go on it, because that's the one that came off the original truck. This one they messed up. They let the motor roll over in the back of the truck when they brought it over here, and so I'm going to use that, which it worked. That wasn't a problem with the intake. So if I can set us up over here, we can kind of see what I'm doing. Well-oiled machine we are here. Cleaning a water outlet that will be meeting up to another water line. So cleaning it off with brake cleaner really gets off all the oily residue. Like, you see me clean this here, but to get a nice, good, clean metal surface that you have good gasket seatage, grindage, you take and clean all these off with a little bit of brake cleaner. Gas works. Gas works pretty good. But it's getting to where gas is more expensive than brake cleaner. Pretty soon you're going to fill your car up with brake cleaner cans, but and take off and go down the road. Saved us a bunch of money, honey. Sad to say. I've already got the old spark plugs out and waiting on the parts people to bring me a few things. That won't prevent me from setting the motor in, because I need this intake out of the way anyways. It'd be a little easier putting the spark plugs in, but what we've got here is we just kind of want to look over everything too. Check plug-ins to make sure you've got the same plug-ins on some of the stuff off the existing motor. I always try to do that. If there's any close to discrepancy, I change it. The manifolds look like they're pretty much the same. I need to get the old engine mounts off each side over here. With one of them's already gone. They left the one on over here. So grab my impact gun and zip that off of there, and it won't be long we can pick it up and start setting it in. I appreciate you guys checking this channel out, by the way, and just kind of watching me do what I do here. The fun part's when we get ready to set it in. I'll wait just a minute because the engine's kind of being propped up by that. We'll get it picked up. Let's get the engine hoist over here and get it picked up. And get this. I'm going to put a new water pump on, so I'll go ahead and prep this front of the motor for the water pump. I'll show you when I'll move the camera in a little bit. Just for the sake of things, we'll go ahead and We'll get the thermostat housing off of there, and that thing will be out of the way. Just in case it gives me any trouble once I get the motor set in. Any kind of bolts or anything like that. Oh, drop stuff. Story of my life. We'll go with the new thermostat as well. That's a definite for sure on that. Just kind of getting some of this off of here, so just in case, before I get the motor set in, if anything gives me too much trouble. Wow. Let's get a pry bar out for that. Thought that would have been kind of popped out of there. It's been in there for a minute. That'll fit in that hole. Oh yeah, we can prep that. I had a boss man one time years ago. I worked at another garage. He was a good mechanic, but he didn't, like, if the radio was playing, he wouldn't sing or anything like that. I'm just making sure he wouldn't sing. If the radio was playing, he would whistle all the lyrics to every song. It didn't matter if it was a Def Leppard or if it was AC/DC. If it was Back in Black, he'd be like, I'm like, man, you know, all day long he would do that. And I'm like, I finally let me, it was driving us nuts. I'll just never forget. I worked for the guy, and so it wasn't a whole lot. It was his shop. So I was like, But he was the whistling king when it came. Even the guy that worked, there was another employee, and that dude would be getting into it sometimes when it was time for the high notes. He'd let out a big old whistle. And me and the guy that worked with me, we just laughed. It was a lot of fun. He was an older gentleman. I was 17 at the time at that garage. And that older gentleman, well, it wasn't older. He was probably not much older than me now. He was in his mid-40s. But he was a character. He was a really cool dude and taught me a lot. And he passed away. He passed away about 10 years ago. He led a pretty rough life. Alcoholism was a problem for him, and that took his life. But he was a really smart guy, and it was a sad story to see that happen. But he was a great guy to work with. I'll never forget him. I remember his name. I won't say his last name, but his name was Matt. I could tell you a lot of stories while doing this kind of work here, and I may get into that, but I've got some fun stories of me growing up and having, because I had to raise myself. I grew up in a home where I didn't have a dad. I don't let it define me. I'm not playing victim. I'm just saying I ended up having to kind of like latch on to male figures throughout life and figure out my way, which I did very well. And that one guy I worked with, like I said, I was 17, 18 years old working at this garage, and it was a big shop. And we did a lot of big work, motor jobs and everything, and he was a cool dude. And I remember people like that growing up because they were a fixture in my life as to how I kind of turned out how I am now, which is I'm really proud of how I turned out. Definitely don't regret anything. Matter of fact, some of my hardships have molded me into the little dude that you see right now. But anyhow. So we're probably getting safe to go ahead and pull this motor, get this thing up in the air. I've got a sensor or two that I'll change once I get it in the hole. All right. Close quarter, man. This shop was built years and years ago, and vehicles weren't quite so big. And so, that's one thing I like about new vehicles. They get bigger. I stay the same size. here we go. Get some of this stuff set up here. You can fast forward through all this if you want to. We're just having a good time doing this. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Get this. I have been not paying attention to let that thing slide out too far and slam it out. Whoa! Excuse me, Patriot burp. I need my cane. I just got to grab this. I'll be right back on camera here shortly. Yep. Working with that guy at that garage I was telling you about. He was into motorcycles. And naturally, everybody was Harley Davidson, which that's fine and all. But being around these diverse crowds of people, this guy was into vintage, like into Jap bikes. He liked European bikes. He had a BMW 1100 motorcycle that he rode, and so he got me interested in just different things because everybody, and I've almost like I latched onto that because everybody rode Harley Davidsons. Everybody rode a GSX-R 900 or a Honda RR 900R, RRR. Remember those back in the early 2000s? But he was like, dude, you grab this little CL350 up. It was only like, I think it was like $600 I bought this thing for it. 1,800 miles on it. Little CL350 Honda, 1972 model. He says, you're going to be in a crowd of people. And when they see you riding that, you're going to walk right by every Harley Davidson and all these, you know, well-known bikes, and you're going to get a lot of, you're going to be like, and I was like, you really, man? So I picked one of those things up, and I kid you not, man. Dude been on a big Harley Davidson, big Road King, all souped up, big chrome pipes. He had to step away, and he had to look at my bike. He said, wow, I remember those. And it brought back a lot of memories. And from there on out, I realized that sometimes life isn't always about what everybody else has. If you forge your own way, and kind of do your thing and be who you are, that you'll find that's a stronger way of life. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but, you know, embracing all the everything that's around you and trying to emulate it can sometimes be your demise. You know, always I try to lead the way. And that was and I do that now. Sure do. So if you like something, just do it. Remember Nike before they went all weird? Well, before we found out about what happened, Nike. Just do it. That was the slogan. Have fun with it. Life is short. I want to get this thing leveled up, so let's see here. See where we're at there. This is, we'll get it labeled out. We'll get there. Two. Want to middle that up a little bit. Looks like we've got a little bit of a lean to it. We'll get that straightened out. That's the key to getting these things in without having to fight them, is to get everything level and set up. If you see a man in there beating the crap out of something or jumping up and down under the hood to get something lined up, stop him. He's messing up something very badly. Let this down just a touch. I hear parts, people, guys. All right. That looks pretty level. For a minute there while parts were here, it took me a second. I had to get this kind of set up like I wanted it. But the goal of this is to get this motor level. When you pick it up, you don't want it all sagging down on one corner. But I had to get these plenum gaskets here, and the only way I could get it was with the whole set. And being I have that whole set, we're going to go ahead and change these gaskets right here while I've got it kind of like down in the front. So let me zip this off. It's not hard to do, as long as we don't break any bolts off, but I think we're fine. I'm real careful with this. This is actually a I can set the settings on this back, so just careful. Then I can put the new little rubbers in there. This way this thing will last for a long time. Now, as you can see, I did spill some liquid. And get that right there. I'll just take a couple of these rags. Mop that off there. I should be on point here shortly. You know, doing this kind of work, mechanicking is fun fun for me anyhow. But my background is kind of like diverse when it comes to repair things, and you know, we'll do more videos on a lot of that kind of stuff. I really love vintage electronics a lot, and so I do repairs on that when necessary. I buy projects that need to be done. Some of the stuff I just kind of do, and I don't video it because it's dangerous. I don't know if I want to get people involved with really high voltage. It's kind of, I work with voltages up in excess of 1,000 volts when it comes to high voltage plate circuits for tubes and all. It takes a lot of discipline and respect to work with that, because it's easy to get accustomed to, and you slip up and you touch something wrong and you've blown your finger off. I don't know that I'll do a lot of high voltage repair stuff online just because of the fact of the dangerousness of it. However, I had a friend of mine who told me a story one day, and I'll tell you in a second. Try not to breathe the aluminum dust in. When I'm doing that, I'm holding my breath because that's the aluminum Probably not too good for certain things in your body. Aluminum has been known to cause things. Look on your bottle of deodorant or antiperspirant, and it'll tell you some really alarming stuff about aluminum, which it has in it, by the way. Antiperspirant has aluminum in it, and it's has a weird thing that happens. And so certain things on YouTube they don't want people talking about. So I've got to be careful about giving advice on what kind of deodorant to use, on the case that it could be considered some kind of thing that the algorithm doesn't like. So we won't go there. But all I'm saying is, don't breathe in the aluminum dust. Simple as that. I think Andrew Dice Clay put it best and said, "Bada bing, bada boom," or something. Maybe was that him? Or was that? Oh, anyway. So, and for good measure, I'm over here off to the side, just wiping this off with some brake cleanup. For good measure, we'll use some kind of sealer. I've got something. Just a little something here to kind of, I'm just going to apply a little bit of this sealer on this here. I mean, the gasket will seal, but this will kind of get behind it there. And I'm only doing that on the water gasket side of it. So. This just makes me feel better. I probably would never have to do this, but I've got it, so we'll use it. I'm gonna grab us a couple of these gaskets. That's the only way I could get the set was with the whole thing. Right. Oh, by the way, if you ever see these little things right here, these are heat tab indicators. That'll tell somebody if you ran the crap out of this motor over hot. It'll melt that little center part out, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, that we don't warranty that." So if you see those, if you ever see a motor that's got those and in the center of it's melted out of it, you're like, "Yeah, I don't think I want that." Alrighty, so I do believe we're ready to put the motor. I swapped the flex plate out because I wasn't really too trustworthy whether or not, because I know the motor got rolled around in the truck because the guy that brought it here from the salvage yard did a terrible job strapping it down after the fact, you know. So just to avoid any issues, I swapped flex plates out and torqued it to spec. Got the plugs already in. I put new ones in. Got both of our plugs out of the exhaust here, so that's good. And then, so it looks like we'll start cranking it up, and then we'll just very carefully we'll start lowering it down in there. The trick to this right here, where your downpipes come off for your manifold, you want to make sure you don't stick one of the studs in there when you put the motor together. And pays to double check to make sure that your torque converter is all the way back, which it seems to be. And this has studs, and so we've marked the flex plate in position of the original. So this happens to be the original flex plate now. So basically, for good measure, I'll just rotate, well, We want to put that back. So I'm going to have to rotate this thing. So I've got to have to ease this down a little bit so I can turn this crankshaft. Let's see here. I don't know if you can see me over here to the right, but I just want to get this lined up. Use the same hole. So I'll use my wrench. I got 18 millimeter on this front. It's too bad that YouTube doesn't let you can't play music while you're doing this. The copyright will get you, so I have to turn my radio down so you can't hear it. I can't hear it. That's how I listen to death metal. They'd be like, no, this sucks, turn the channel. I like to turn the motor in a clockwise direction, and which would be the direction of the chain tensioner, so you don't max those out, turning it backwards, if it's all possible. If you can swing it, I need to find where I've got my. Oh, we're almost there. I just want to get my mark straight down, lining it up with the torque converter, which is straight down. Yeah, I think we're pretty close right there. Yep. Now I'll pick this back up again. Yeah. Look, pretty good right there. Really good. So we'll start cranking it up. Making a minor adjustment. It's not a really heavy engine, guys. To be so big, it's 5.4 liters. It's not even, what is that, 330 something cubic inches. The crossover for like cubic inches and liters is kind of a fun crossover. It's something I learned a while back, and I don't know if anybody else has ever heard this, and you may have, so don't let me offend you by repeating it, but I just, in case somebody else out there is listening for the first time, if you want to kind of you want to learn a displacement or figure out what, like say for instance, you've got a 5.0, 30, it's 302, because really it's 60.1 or 60.859, it's almost 61 cubic inches per liter is what it comes out to be. And so you can just round it to 60 cubic inches and kind of get where you need to be at. So you know, like if it's a 5.8 liter, then you would say 60 cubic inches would be, it would be or 350, because you're almost at that, you're like point something to the next, you reach that next full liter of the 6. So that gives you around 350. 5.7 is a 350 and 5.8 is a 351. So, or by the standards of the engine, when you look under the hood, like a Ford 5.8 is 351 and a Chevrolet 5.7 is 350. And then like a Dodge, they're like Dodge is funny. So they had the 5.9, that'd be a 360. Funny how that kind of funny works. And the 6.0 would be the 360 something. You know what's even funny is like that big Dookie Cummins diesel motor, that straight 6. It's in a lot of Dodges. In case anybody, you know, there's a lot of people already know what I'm talking about, but I just like talking about it. It's just a 5.9 liter Cummins is all that is. You know, 360 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder Cummins, which is big for an inline 6-cylinder, and it's a production vehicle. You know, that's actually a lot of displacement, which means that you'll have big stroke. Big stroke gives you lots of torque. You know, think about that, because you get a real good force of angle. You know, the lever effect happens when you got a nice big old long crankshaft eccentric that's slinging that piston around. Gets a lot of low RPMs, a lot of torque. Yeah. So I'm just using this big pry bar to move this engine pulley thingy, cherry picker, because this, you know, it still seems like a little more controlled than jerking it around and slinging it all over the place, trying to get where you need to be, and everything kind of moves along real nice. Yep. Funny thing is this angle will change as I move this engine where I've got my little supportive. Okay though. Wanting to move the wrong way. When the wheels move, turn, it makes everything just go all wonky. Get it as I go in the correct direction. Working pretty good. Not too bad. I appreciate you guys for tuning in too, hanging out, watching me do this. It's just in real time. Usually this goes pretty smooth most of the time. Now this is a little bit more of a difficulter going in it because of the angles and some of the things I've got to achieve all at once. But I think it's real doable. So maybe we won't have like an hour-long episode of me trying to get this to line up. All right. We're getting close to the firewall back here. I can go back just a little bit more, and so we'll do that. We'll go back just about half that distance. Maybe my arm is going to swing down. I don't want to jam it all in the firewall. I think I've got a little bit of room for getting it over some while I clear that. Yeah. Okay, all right. We're going to use our thing that never, oh, there it is. It's always never there when I'm looking for it. But all right, here we're going to let it down some. Now, I'm not in a rush, at least not at this point. I'm watching, there's some hoses, just got to kind of keep your gear on. Watch for things on both sides. And just kind of take your time letting it down. That's the main deal. It's not getting a rush at this point, because that won't save you any time. once we get down some, I can go back a little bit more. We're getting close. Watching places like the oil pan in relation to the K-member underneath there. Just little things like that, you know, don't get in a big rush. It's doable, guys. See here. Sometimes you'll get hung up with things that you don't really think are going to be in the way, like a grease rag or something. That can stop you in your tracks. Get that out of the way. You know, look at everything else, and there'll be a grease rag on the floor. Engine hoist, hold the whole motor up, get stopped by a grain of sand. Okay, so getting close, guys. I think that what we'll do now is we'll kind of, you got to remember that you don't want to put one of the exhaust studs right in your manifold, or, well, that sounds really weird. I mean, like, you want to make sure your stud doesn't get in the hole. I mean, anyways, you know what I'm talking about. You remember the exhaust flanges where they're down in here where the downpipes are. Make sure that stud doesn't get stuck in there, because it's really hard to get out 90% of the time. Yep. Right. So the end of the engine, that front could use a little bit of coming uppage. Look in there. Oh, dude, not looking bad at all. I don't know how. I think I need to. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is, I'll show you what I've got. We're getting pretty close there. There's a, I'm not going to reach too far in there, but there's that one top hole's got to line up with that bottom one. We're getting real close, guys. Real close. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys for hanging out. Pretty cool. All right. I think I can go back just a little bit more and we'll go down some. I'm going to crawl underneath there to see what everything's looking like. Bear with me. Yeah. Come on in. But yeah, so here we are. Had to get the motor tilted up just a little bit more. I wanted to get that angle right. Let me go take a look underneath here again. I really could stand pulling that front up just a little bit more, but the oil pan's hitting the cross member just a little bit. Third hand. Trick is you want to get this angle to the transmission and engine just right. And that's where you'll make up most of your hardened efforts. And we're getting close, guys. I can kind of show you through this hole right here. So the right in here, you see that those teeth. That's the flywheel that you saw at the back of the motor. That plate behind it is the transmission, and you can see you got to watch that stud. You don't want it going in the hole right there or on top over there. So I got to check the other side and see how good I'm doing. I was running a little bit of an issue just because I had to have it angled. So I got to have it jacked up so high to get it over top of those ears. Don't have a lot of light on this side. My light sucks. I have to beat it to make it work. Yeah, see, that one's headed right into the exhaust right there. You probably can't see it. It's hard to get the camera in there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that gets over that before we go any further back. Because if it gets stuck in the darn downpipe. It is hard to manage once you get it out. So let me make sure I get that. Watch that. Over that side really well and good. Looking good there. That's good. See how I'm looking on my hood. Looks like I can actually let that transmission down. I'm gonna take my jack and I'm gonna let the transmission down just a little bit, real close. That side's not looking too bad. Let's just see what happens here. We'll go up this a little bit. That was a dowel pin that kind of started to line up. It moves. We could get a bolt in that if I can, maybe. That'll help me. Let's see here. Not too far off right there. Let's see. Get me a little something there and see if I can't start that. Get one side kind of started. Thirteen guys. over here. We've got one bolt started. Now we're not really lined up that well, but it's really close. So I'm not gonna, that bolt's gonna help me out a lot. I can tell that this side of the engine needs to come up just a little bit. That would really make it happen. I may could do it with this right here. I don't know. We'll see if I can move it enough to where it kind of falls into place. The thing is my torque converter lined up really well. I don't know. I have to check that because I haven't looked at the studs. It's hard to see in there because of the engine hoist is in the way. Got to get in there with my. I'm pretty close otherwise. Really, really close. Having the studs on the torque converter really ups your game so far as lining stuff up. And like I say, our main goal here is not to be forceful with anything. Want to be real nice and gentle. Real nice and gentle. So, see if I can see in there. Yeah, I gotta turn that, you can't get to the torque converter because of the way the motor's made. But, well, so here we are. I'm close. It's being a little bit difficult. Oh. Just a little bit. We got to get right in here. Get that together. So, well, it shouldn't be a problem. I think I've actually, looks kind of lined up. Let's see if we can get a bolt in that. Oh, I'm sorry. I get looking at what I'm doing instead of what. Okay. It lines up. We got one in there. I got a ratchet behind me, I think. Used to be. I don't know. Oh. That was tools will grow legs. There it is. Okay. Yep. Now, I'll reach up in the turning my little ratchet. Hard to see, but bringing everything together now. Now that I'm doing that, I'm going to crawl back up top real quick. And I'll need both hands, so I'm kind of going to have to set me up again, or you'll have to kind of watch me if that's okay. But I want to climb back up there in the top and make sure that there's no, come on camera. What's up with that? And get it to where I can make sure that there's nothing pinched between the motor and the transmission. So there we go. Okay, all right, thanks guys. Really appreciate you sticking with me through this shoestring production. But you can kind of see how it all goes down over here. There was some lines and stuff behind the motor here, and I just want to be sure that I'm not encroaching on all that there and all. So far, so good. What we'll do, we'll move to the other side and rinse that side together. Since it looks like it's kind of going together, and then when I get all the engine and stuff sandwiched back together, I'll make sure the torque converter has some amount of movement in it. You'll see. We're looking really good. We'll get one of my long extensions here. These long ones. Put the roll quick. There we go. Yeah. A 2-foot extension. And I think I've already got, nope, we're going to have 13 millimeter one of these. Let's see if I can set me up over here where you can oh, maybe you can really see what. Yep, my hair kind of thin, y'all. But it is. It's all right. What it is. Had a good run for 41 years. I'm happy to be here. Oh, it happened all of a sudden too. Yeah. Like, well, I woke up one day and it was like, all right, well, About that time, I said, time for what? He said, you know what it is? I was like, oh, yeah, my dad's side of the family. My dad blessed me with so much. Or something. Or something. It could be because I keep hitting my head on really sharp objects all the time too. That could have something to do with it. So, this is the, what do you call it, for ages 10 and up part right here, I guess you would call it. Hopefully, move around underneath here because can't lift it up because I got the hoist hooked up. Yeah, we've got studdage coming through there. Guess everything's looking good so far. Seems to be. You just to get one stud to come through there. You've got the rest in the bag most of the time. Most of the time. I could be wrong. See, yeah, I got them all through there. Yeah, now I just gotta bring it together a little bit more. A little bit more. Still being mindful of that exhaust. Sorry I'm not talking a lot. I'm just thinking there and watching everything real closely, because sometimes your key to doing anything is keeping your mind on what you're doing. If you get away from that, then sometimes you can deviate from the kind of work that's necessary you need to be doing. So, the thing's looking really good right now, still. Well, one dowel pin there, I was lined up good. Everything's brought together nicely. All right, so now I get this cumbersome jack out of the way. It's not the name of a group, that's the name of this jack. That's nice, and what we'll do is we'll set the motor on down into the necessary holding points, and then we'll get this thing buttoned together before we know it. We're getting there. Let me get up. I'm surrounded by tools. Yep, now we're sideways. I'll get underneath here, making my noises, getting up. Pay that no attention. All right, so on my mouth, right? I've got to move those little rubbers around, so I'll have to set the phone down again, or my camera. My camera. Remember that, guys. There we go, a little something going on right there. One side down in there. This one here is a little bit different situation. You run into things like that right there, where that one side doesn't want to settle down. Sometimes that's no fun. Yeah. But I'm just going to take a look underneath there and see. Carefully, not sticking my hands in there. Back underneath the truck I go, guys. Alrighty, well, now, finally, got the motor all bolted in really well now. Like I said earlier, I just loosened the bolts that held the engine mount plate down here on the frame on the other side, and I was able to kind of position it a little bit easier, and I used the engine hoist in this one corner and picked it up and got it seated in. Just wanted to keep it from being too super long. I ended up cutting some of that out because that was like 39 minutes of me a lot of it was under the ground. You couldn't see what I was doing, but just like to show you what I do in real time here as much as possible. So now I've got all the bell housing bolts in. Everything's good. Let me show you a little technique that I use to be sure that I'm safe on my torque converter. Let's flip this camera around. Oh, let's be on the ground. All right. So up here, you could. I can't get a camera in there. In the bell housing area. In the bell housing area. Well, where the transmission is, please forgive me for the angles. Okay, you can see that torque converter stud with the white dot on it. It's right up here. So that means that I've got all my bolts tight, everything is cinched up to the motor, and I can move that torque converter. If that was, that's why you want to sand that torque converter or the inside of your crankshaft a little bit so that that thing slides in there freely. That's telling me that I've got the, there's nothing jammed up, that I'm safe to put my bolts in and that hold the torque converter to the flywheel, and then we won't have any issues with that. So that's something even with Ford you can do. You always want to make sure you can move that torque converter. If it's put together and that thing's all jammed up, you may have problems. And it's a good idea to check that as you bring it together, because you don't want to mess up pump up. And those are the bolts that I had to loosen up there. Those 4 nuts, I loosened those nuts so I could move that plate around. And there's our studs for the exhaust. And so now what I'll do is I'll stop this for just a little bit here, and go ahead, punch out some of this stuff. Let me get out. And I'll be you'll never even know I stopped the film. All right, here we go. And by the way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Okay, get ready. Here we go. All righty. So let's see how this camera angle works right here. We've got a lot of this stuff buttoned up. I've got the AC compressor on. You can't see me over here, but I'll do an aerial shot here in a little bit. But now, next item up for bid, guys. We're going to put this intake on. That's why we've got the camera focused there. Everything looks real good. Well, the phone's gone. Good Lord. A little better angle there. Okay, yeah, we're gonna try this out here and see. Getting ready to set this intake on. I just want to look inside these holes, make sure everything looks good, and I can see. Set this intake on here, and then I can set my wiring harness back over top of everything. I've gotten quite a bit done since I stopped the camera just a little bit ago, just long enough to kind of, because it was just hard to film me because I was underneath the vehicle for so long. Tricky part here, getting this hose and everything to go with me. Watch me. Set that down and over. There's a vacuum hose at the very back for the power brakes. And I need to be sure that I get that on there properly. There's a little holy bracket that tends to hold out. Oh, poking myself with a stud. All right, we're getting it. actually a real hammer there, but this is trying to, there we go, get that in like that. Just tap it in. Just making sure that that vacuum hose is in place on the back of this here intake, because that's very important, because this thing will run terrible if that thing comes off. Alright, now, silly me, I left the screw in it just to hold that down while that sealer was sealing. No biggie, I gotta take it out. And I'll have to recheck my hose again. Stick stuff for right now. I'll put this. All right, here we are. Got that on. Now I can start dropping some of the intake bolts on. And then, like I say, once I get this all on, I will make sure that that line is fit to be tied back there. So to be sure that we get everything like we want here, I'm just going to look at the length of all these bolts, making sure I don't have one just different lengths. It's always a good idea just to double check that. They should be all the same length here. Looks like it. Yep, looking good there. I'll put that in there to keep from dropping something in there. How's my angle hold up? Are we still looking good? Okay, good. All right, good deal. Good deal. Yes, sirree, Bobby. Put that in there like that. Going around with it. This will be when I do that, I'm going to drop the coils in before I drop the harness back around. That should make it easier, maybe. I'll start these by hand, then I can go around with the my little electric quarter drive ratchet. That thing's perfect for this application right here. It won't over tighten the bolt. Right. The air and the weather around here just plays havoc with my sinuses, so I have to constantly dealing with that. It's nothing to do with those streaks I see in the sky. I'm sure of that. That's all. It's nothing to do with that. Just the temperature. Okay, let's see here. Now, I'm off to the side over here. I'm going to spin the oil filter on shortly, but I'm just taking my time because I don't have to crank it right away. I'm filling the oil filter as much as possible with fresh motor oil, and that way it won't take not long for it to get oil to everything. I'm going to go kind of across from each other, by the way. It'll be a crosshatch pattern. I'll just kind of work my way around. I'll just listening for it to start to snug, and then I'll kind of work my way around. Once I get them all sort of snug, then I'll go around and tighten them on down. And that'll be what we'll do. We're getting that. Oh, had to miss. There we go. Now I'll go around one more time by hand and just double check on that, you know, make sure everything looks good. I don't mind taking my time on stuff like that. All right, let's get us a ratchet. Now I'll go around that by hand one time. Glad to be out from underneath this thing. That's how you know you're kind of getting somewhere when you can kind of start grabbing tools that were underneath and setting them up back on the up here bench, because once I get this all laid out, it doesn't take that long once I can roll through it here. You guys tuning in and watching this is just, like I say, greatly appreciated. You know, all the wonderful people out there that watch my other channel helping to do what they do, and we'll keep it clean on this network here, but there's a lot of good people out there, and I really appreciate it. Alright, I've already got the plugs in. I've tightened those down all the way, and to just make it easy on everybody, we'll drop the coils down there first because the wiring harness won't be in the way. And it's got goo in here from somebody else servicing it, so we don't need to put much on that. That's good there. We're just going to drop these on down in place. Uh-oh, got a snake. That all looks really good. Steady. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I like to say there we go because let's pat ourselves on the back. You too out there, Patriots, watching this stuff, having a good time. We're going to transition over to this side. Drop these coils in. We'll work our way to the front of this thing. Slowly we'll put the water pump on, and then we'll just stand right there in the front and put the, there's a few connections I've got to make underneath there for the one that's the oil pressure sending unit, so I haven't got the power steering pump mounted on the block yet, because you can get to it, but it sure is easier to get to that oil pressure sending unit right now with that thing out of the way. 7mm. Gotta get my 7mm. These are small little bolts, so they don't need to be, you don't have to like, doesn't take a whole lot. And they're fine threaded too, which makes it mean that you don't have to, you get a good ratio, you don't have to crank it down to get it really tight. Yeah, you just let it ride like that there. Now, what I need to do now before I get any further ahead is while I'm thinking about it, and we'll talk about it. Matter of fact, we'll take the camera with us. Let's take a trip on. We've got a lot. Oh, look at that sensor. So here we are. Got the oil filter pretty well filled to the top. A little trick that I use, and it doesn't hurt anything. Let's see here. I take a little small brake cleaner straw, and it's plastic. Get it in the shot here, and it won't hurt anything. I'll open the little valve that's in the oil filter up. That really lets the oil get in there. So let's take a trip down under, and we'll put the oil filter on. Bear with me right quick as we do this. Look, I've got a beauty mark. Okay, I got rid of it. It's not beautiful anymore now. And these filters, you tighten them on by hand. I guess I spoke too soon when I said I'm glad I don't have to be underneath this thing anymore. I'm back up underneath it. Let's get us a little bit of light, guys. Right up there is the, well, can I get it in the shot? Yeah, there it is. We'll spin that thing right up on there. Yes, sir, everybody. Yeah, laying down on the job again. Man, it's not just, so far I ain't got any oil on me. I done good. Or my grandma would be like, "You didn't do good, you did well. Quit using that terrible grammar." Look, we're gonna get an upshot while I use both hands. My grandma said she fussed at me for using both hands. That's a whole other video. Okay, so we've done that. I've already got some oil in the motor. I put like 5 quarts in the motor, 1 in the filter, which would be plenty. I think this thing holds us a little over 6 quarts, maybe something like that. That's the 4.2 V6, 7 quarts of oil. Crazy as that is. So let's get back around over here. We'll get back to what we're doing over on the top. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right. So we've got our coils in, we've got the intake bolts in and all nice and tightened up. So it looks like we're getting down to the wire as far as be putting in this wiring harness that just kind of lays across the engine, and well, but it goes a certain way, so we've got to put it back like it came off, guys. That's what we do. All right, so this is a ground right here. We know that, and I remember moving it, removing it from. This goes along. There we go. Alrighty. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, that's okay, no problem. We've got this. There's a few connections underneath I'll have to make as well, which is for the having to fish out some of the wires from back here, but we'll get it. Got those. All right. So pretty much now just going to be just snapping some wires together and try to put everything back like it looks. Back on these studs here. And so we'll move along here, and then I'll show you as it progresses here. We've still got to mount, once that get some of these wires down the side over here, we've got to mount that power steering pump back on, and then there's a few wires underneath for the O2 sensors I've got to plug in. So thank you as always for tuning in. Gosh, you guys are awesome. Hey, all right, we'll be right back just here in just a second, which you won't even know, because I don't know why I say that, because when I hit stop and go, anyways, okay, I'll learn how to computers. All right, guys, I'll be back or something. Well, here we are. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, there we go. Yeah, working this thing. We're getting somewhere, guys. We've got all the connections underneath hooked up with the O2 sensors, the ground wires, and all the stuff back over here on the PCM is all put back together. Water lines are hooked up. We've got one water line that's just draped over here that'll plug in right here. And before I put the thermostat in, we're going to fill it up with coolant to the very tippy top so we get all the air out of it. But that's a little ways down the road. Like I say, all this is hooked up. We've got our pump mounted. Everything's belt is on. We're just kind of working ourselves on the way out. I'll spin that fan on. But before I do that, I've got just a couple more little things. I'm going to put this throttle body on. The couple of vacuum hoses that go from the PCV and some other little stuff. That'll get ripped back on here in just a few minutes. And with no further ado, I'll set the camera down and we'll kind of... I'm not too far from getting out of here. It's getting kind of late, but we're going to work just a little bit longer. We'll just set me up right there. Well, that'll work. We have our throttle body. We have our screws that I'm attempting to drop. We'll give this a little happy, fun wipe down. I've got a new O-ring that goes on this. It's in a box right here. There it is. Came with the gasket set. There's probably nothing wrong with the O-ring that's on it, but we'll carefully remove it in case we need it for future something else. And we'll use the new one that's supplied with the gasket set. We'll place that in its little surroundy roundy right there. Not much to that. Go ahead and plug this plug in because it's a bit recessed down in that hole, so it's a little easier to go ahead and plug it in right there. No, it didn't fall in the motor. All right, it's looking real good. is for your evap system. Trying to, yes. Let me see here. We're going to check that. Sometimes I'll see things I want to move around, like I want that wire to go underneath that. Yeah, coming along nicely. Probably can't see a lot because I'm bending away, but we're just working along, putting this stuff together, and it's coming real nice. It's looking good. I say that a lot, but it really is. And it's quite satisfying when you start seeing things come together and you're looking at stuff when it was all tore to pieces. It's definitely a big change from where I was at. I was not a couple hours ago, we were just putting this motor in. It was sitting on the floor. And I've got everything on the bottom hooked up. We've got everything on the top hooked up. We've got all the front back on. It's getting a little bit past 8 o'clock tonight. So what I'm going to do is we're going to call it evening and finish up the rest of what we got to do. Let's see. It's real nice to together. So tomorrow morning we'll hit it hard, and well, it should be on the running side of things. We've got oil in it. We've got the oil filter on. There's over here is the radiator, the fan shroud, and the fan. The fan, I'll just spin it on, and I'll put the shroud up to there, and I'll put the radiator in, then I'll bolt the shroud to it. That's how I took it apart. Then the front clip goes on pretty easily. And we'll set the camera up, and you can watch me do all that. So you won't even know it, but here we are in the morning. Yeah. All right, here we are. It's morning time. Stick the front of this thing back together. See how this goes here. Thank you guys for hanging out. So, I've got to do a little bit of repair work so that somebody's already been in this thing, this was like its second motor, and there's a few things I want to fix while I'm putting this back together, which will involve a little bit of drilling and a little bit of zip strapping. Move this thing so you can kind of see what I'm doing over here onto the side. Like over there. Okay. Well, yeah, you can kind of get an idea of what we're doing over here. All right. A little easier over here. What we want to take is go ahead and secure this up, make sure it's going to work. And careful with this drill. You don't want to accidentally drill too far and go through the radiator. That would be a disaster. What would be nice in this perfect world would I be able to fish this in here all as an assembly. Look. Before it goes to the front. Yeah, we normally sit about like that right there. Let me move this back over here. What happens here. I do believe I'll just put the shroud in first just so I can get all this stuff in the front a little easier. Because this would be a little bit cumbersome. You know, so a little bit of what's going on last night when I got home. I really like the television shows. Even I've been watching them since I was a kid, so it's not like it's my just I'm getting old and just, you know, this is my new thing. I've been doing this since I was a kid, but I never really watched new television shows. When I was like 5, I watched the Jeffersons, and I've learned a little bit as I've gotten older about the Jeffersons. What a narrative, but anyhow. I got to watch on a regular TV, which I don't have satellite or any kind of like you know, digital. I mean, or internet TV. I don't watch that stuff. I just don't. There's nothing on it. You know, same thing. A lot more channels with nothing on. When I listen to music, I just bust out my collection of different things. But anyhow, let this bus go by. So, last night on Austin City Limits, if anybody's ever watched that before, I got to watch Ronnie Millsap. I don't know if you hope the audio is good enough, but I was watching Ronnie Millsap on Austin City Limits. Oh, it was so much fun, dude. You know, I forgot how many good songs that guy had. I listen to death metal, though, like Slayer and Megadeth and all that stuff, but I really enjoy listening to all that other stuff as well. It's a lot of fun. Good times. Okay, so got a phone call right quick. We'll have to stop this and see what's going on. I'll be right back. All right. All right, back again. Now, in this perfect world, in there. There will be a few things I'll have to tie up on the bottom once I get this kind of in place. Kind of looking over and seeing where I'm at here. Sometimes you have to regroup a little bit here, which I'm doing right now. Got something in the way there. Like I say, this thing's been apart several times. I don't know which motor I got a hold of, which series of motors I got my hands on here. Either way, I got to get this off the radiator for somebody else, which is a little clip holding me. try this again. Looks like that'll work. Gather up some of these retainer clip bolts. Shroud on. And of course your quarter drive ratchet, the one that you want to use right now, it's MIA. They grow legs. I like a little quarter drive ratchet when it comes to running some of those smaller bolts. This works. There's I got this clip bar that goes over, but I'll wait a little bit because I got a little movement right here I can take advantage of. We're going to put the power steering reservoir back on over here. Just kind of got a slot that it locks into. But first, before I do that, I see where I need to take advantage of the little bit of extra room that I have here at the moment and get my fixer that I had to do on this fan shroud right here. I gotta grab something. Be right back. These are so lovely. They're good, really good as long as they don't get in the sun. The trick that I like to use sometimes to get something to thread through a hole is I can put a little bend in that. I hope I've been shot. That should kind of get me where I need to be. Yeah. Now I hit the drain on the radiator so I could get, cool it drained out of it. And while I'm thinking about it, I just want to double check that I snug my Philly plug or drain plug back up. I don't want to start putting coolant in it. I forgot to tighten that. So britches pulled up. Put this, now we can put a reservoir on, and there's a little slot that it goes into. So if you're swapping this engine at home, you'll see the slot. All right. I've got some content I'm going to load soon. I went to Virginia. If you're watching this right here, and you can't see my face, I went to Virginia. A friend of mine and I did last weekend, which is, well, the date of today is like the 11th or 10th or something. What is today? I don't even know what the day is. Hold on. Today, so as this is being shot, we're on October 6th. But last weekend we went to Virginia and I picked up, three quote-unquote hit-and-miss motors, but one of them is actually a throttle governor engine. And when I do the video on it, I'll explain the difference between throttle governor and hit-and-miss motors. But I got one it's been running before, but been put up for a long time, and missing just a few pieces. But nothing of significance that I can't fab up real quick. And we'll get that thing going, and we'll do a video on throttle governor engines. And in November, which is coming right around the corner here, is the big tractor show, and I'll be bringing some content. There's a whole, I'm in with these people that have this huge complex of like tractors and hit and miss motors and bulldozers and all this stuff. It's not far from the shop here, and I've known these people for many years. And I go there to this show, and that's where I take my 4-motor motorcycle. And if you're watching this for the first time and you're at this point of the video, look up on my page and you'll see my 4-motor motorcycle I built, and that goes up there along with some of my vintage tractors and my T-bucket. We'll bring a lot of content out of that coming up in November, so be tuned in, you know, guys. There'll be a lot of stuff coming, a lot of fun projects. And I say we're working on that 71 this weekend, which today's the 6th of October, but this weekend I'll be putting a lot of time in the that Galaxy 500 I picked up, and see if I've got it in the building now, but I'll be getting the motor running on it. We'll do some content on it too. So a lot of stuff. So get ready to get ready to watch. There's a bunch of stuff about to be coming out on this here channel, and a lot of fun that's going to be. I really enjoy this kind of stuff. Let's see here. Now that was not me. I did not do that. That's somebody else. Let me see that. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. We'll get right here in a second, guys. Gotta put the tranny cooler in there. Yeah. Wow. Always find stuff. You can see the radiator's kind of boogered right here. Well, this bracket, we're gonna have to fix this. See me, I'm off camera a little bit here. See how that looks. I think this thing took a little front end damage too. Because over here on this support, I'll show you when I get the camera back. But okay, so that line. Let's get this on first, just in case, so we don't run into any. Okay. All right. Okay, back again. Back again. All right. Go ahead and go around all this right here. For a good measure, I always watch bolts going through the other side just in case somebody's put the wrong stuff in there. You don't want to jam that into the radiator. It's always a good idea to have a good assortment of plugs, plugging things off. I enjoy having that. Makes life really nice. There we go. We're going to put the AC lines in, and I won't just dry lip it. I'll put a little bit of PAG oil on it, get it for the seals to slide in. I haven't had me a little squirt bottle. This is 150. It'll work. It's fine. It won't hurt the seals a bit. Some of your oils are a little different, but what we're doing right here will be just fine. I like to plug those off while it's apart just to ensure that I don't get as much moisture into the system, maybe, theoretically. Of course, one of my nuts decides to get gone, so while I look for that, I'll stop the camera for a second. Alright, start zipping some of these. I went ahead just while I was off camera because sometimes you have to kind of layer things, but I got this all ready to bolt in now. All the bolts are in it, so we'll go ahead and start zipping all this down. Some of these bigger ones, I believe I'm going to utilize some of this air technology. This little 3/8 ratchet right here. That little air ratchet or air impact, oh my goodness, this little thing cheap too, man. Some little, I hate to say it, but some poor Uyghur guy had to make that thing, and they probably I don't even want to say what they did to the guy. But we live in his name. Thank you, Uyghur dude. Oh, man. All right, let's see here. We'll start jamming these bolts down now. We'll go with the, dude. Talking about old TV shows. Old TV shows. I was watching, wow, what the heck was that show? It was, The Commish. Can you see me? I don't know. I'll sit down for a second. Watching The Commish. And I didn't even know it, but Pat Sajak, he made an appearance on the show called The Commish. I've got to look into that, but I like to watch The Wheel of Fortune. And there's other things Pat Sajak has done really recently that was really cool. But that show, The Commish, it's just started airing on some of these vintage TV show programs. And it's really good, actually. But got to see that. It was really interesting to see Pat Sajak in his younger day. Actually, you know, he was not at Wheel of Fortune. Go over here to this side and work it. Now I will turn this thing down a little bit and I'll go to some of these other ones. We'll go to one. Probably, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see if it's in the shot really good. Okay, so I didn't do this, but let's see if we can make it look a little bit better. Somebody else had went in here and had their way when they changed the motor the first time. Straighten these fins up. If we get them a little bit better than what it was, like I said, I'll take my little fine needle nose and clean that up a little bit better. But just getting them not so laid over looks a little better. Pretty quiet out here for the most part. There's a dude that lives down the road that's got a it's not really a beat up Lincoln. It's really nice actually, Lincoln Town Car. I don't know what they done to it, but they cut the exhaust out from underneath and it comes by sounding like a pulpwood truck. That's kind of interesting. Like I say, you won't get these perfect, but if I can just sort of make it look better, at least when I open the hood, it looks better than what it did when I took all this apart, which is my main goal, really. I mean, we want to take stuff apart. We want it to look as good as it did, if not better, than what it did before we got into it. Then people will trust what you do. They'll say, man, you know, I got a car back from these people, and everything was just all put together, jammed up. It worked. Even if you're cheaper than somebody and you don't put it together right, they'll go to somebody a little bit more expensive because they know that somebody cares. And that makes them feel better. I'm kind of in between the two, as far as cheapness and goodness. I try my best to be competitive with my labor prices, but good at the same time. And so you have to draw a line there. You know, and I can go to my local grocery store and talk to the people in that store with no problem. I don't get Alex Stein from customers, you know. All right, that's can make a brush for this, but say we're just trying to make things a little nicer than what they were. How's that look from the camera shot? Is that better or worse? Yeah. Now the radiator, not my thing. This is the AC condenser. This right here set us a good sale. Good sale. All right. Usually you can put things back by the paint mark. You'll see where something's been taken apart. You'll see a mark and a little insignia from the prior turnage. And you can go back with that, and that helps. I always like to try to put things back better than the way we found them. Okay. Now the deal with this is this cable, this thing obviously had been in some kind of problem with the so this normally had went over here. I guess you can see this, but somebody had this kind of pulled out, and I may have to go that route. Now, before we get too far ahead, I've still got to get some of this stuff here, and I've got a few other I always find my stuff when I'm not looking for it, by the way. It's where I quit looking for the thing, and that was sitting right in front of me. All right, we'll get this bumper on in a second, but while I've still got a little bit of access to some of this frontal area, got this all nice and secure. Let's get a camera look here, guys. All right. Looking a lot better than what it was in our V2s. Bumper was really easy to get on, thank goodness. Now, we've got some little vacuum switch stuff going on over here. This goes back over to that. And over to that over there. And then we've got, over here is this vacuum reservoir / vacuum switch. There is a wire, a connector that goes to that. And I've been moving it around for a week now. And now that I'm looking for it. We'll find that here in just a minute. It's not far. We've got to hook our lower hose up too. Hooker lower hose. So, well, my finger's blocking the camera. I'll have to hunt. There's a pigtail that comes out of this harness somewhere. That plugs into this here. We'll find it, and then we'll get this plugged in. We'll get that hose hooked up over there, and then this little water, this coolant line goes over to the jug top over here. So yeah, so let's we'll set us back over here for a second while I dig for that connector. Okay. There's my Whoopi Goldberg running in the back. She took a break from the view to come up here and compress a little bit of air for me. Thanks, Whoopi Goldberg. Anyways, let me show you a little something right quick. There is, of course, there's my little, that's looking a lot better. You like that? And what I've done is I have pre-filled the motor. Not, there's nothing wrong with filling it up here, but with the thermostat in, even though it's got a little bleeder dookie thing on the top, and I'll show you this, by the way. Here it is. You'll notice this little tabaroo right here. Even though it's going flat down, there is a high point to the engine. You can see the engine's kind of angled towards the uppy. So when I put this thermostat in, it'll go with that little tab at the front. But I pre-filled this thing to the very tippy top. That way that there's water right there. I know on the heating element part of the thermostat. There's two parts to this, by the way. Once this thermostat opens, this has a reaction point as well, and it lets water to go certain directions. And as you can see, it's ported up there so that water can get to this part here, which has an expansion point, which opens this little top piece. This little round section right here will open up with that brass. It'll push down against this little lever in the very tippy top right there. There's a there's a heat sensitive material that's inside of there, sealed off by little teeny O-rings that's in that little shaft that you can kind of, come on camera, that little shaft you can see in there. There's seals on the inside of that, and that pushes against that shaft in the middle and pushes this whole thing down against this spring, which and then the heat reacts to this and lets water. It's weird. It's dual stage thermostat. Okay, went on a little rant. But this tab will go towards the front because that'd be where the air would be more likely to go, because air wants to find the highest point. It likes to float. Air bubbles like to get to the top of things. And it provides actually a little bit of a circulation point to help. Like sometimes if water just sits in one place with the water pump pumping up against it, it takes a while for the heat to get through to the water to this. So for having that little bitty bleeder point right there, allowing a certain amount of controlled water to flow through that helps this thermostat work. Another thing I've done is when I got this filled up, I spilled a little bit and used a funnel, but there was a little water in each one of these holes. Now that's something that you always want to be mindful when it comes to dealing with threads on aluminum engines and cast iron as well, even if there's oil in those holes. When the bolt goes down in the hole, it's got to displace the fluid in it, and if the thread, especially on aluminum, if you get a good enough seal, the bolt will lock down against the liquid that's in there, and that's called a hydrolock. And then what happens is if the bolt can't go down, that means the threads come up, and you'll push the threads right out of the hole. Honda Accord valve covers, when people would do them themselves on the 4-cylinder Honda Accords or the 6-cylinder as well, those long studded bolts that went down in there, they would take those out, and there's enough oil in the vicinity that it fills the holes up. They don't pay any attention. They bolt the bolt down, and next thing you know, it's stripped out. And then they'd have to find some kind of combobulation, which I didn't have to go in there and helicoil all that. But of oil in the hole, called a hydrolock, it would push the threads out instead of the bolt going down. So always be mindful of that when you're threading bolts in an area where there's liquids of any kind. If there's water, oil, grease, too much grease in the hole, whatever, get that out of there, because you'll pack that hole where it can't compress, and you'll blow the threads out. Little public service announcements for do-it-yourself guys out there, and that can happen on anything. It might not be that thermostat housing. It could be a differential bolt where it goes in a housing. It could, there's a lot of places that can happen. So always be mindful of that. Now, basically what we're going to do now, I'm going to start mounting the bumper on the front. So let's you want to watch me fumble with that right quick, because I'm going to do it myself. And anyways, let's see how this goes. Yep, there we go. How's that camera angle? See if we can get it to go down some. There we go. You can kind of see me fumble with it. It's going to be funny. I'm waiting on a seal for this before I can put that in. They send you a new thermostat, has a seal on the cover, like, yeah, and they send you this, they don't check to see if it's got it. I have an intake gasket set right here, but for some reason it's not in it. So, we'll go to this for a little bit while we're waiting on that part, because we're not far from cranking this thing up, guys. I'll even do the first crank up live on the phone to see what happens. Same kind of noises happened. How terribly I failed. Moving the stool would be a little easier, but I'm already over here, so this is where we're at. Okay, now you stay. Like a dog. Stay. Now I've got a couple of these I need to mount. I got to put on. I go up under there for that harness. And I'll lay them down, and once I get this bumper on, it's not going to cause any issues. I'll move that stool out of the way. Maybe it'll stay put. I had that tied to it just to, wasn't sure what was going to happen there, so I just tied that there. Now I've got some kind of Boy Scout knot going on. Okay. I had it hooked to my little hoist at the time when the engine hoist was available or being in use. I've got it all folded up, and I'm not going to do that. got some paint marks I can go by. We'll just zip her down on that and see what happens. What happens? Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go underneath here just to save us all the hassle of looking. I don't have to. I'm gonna zip that stuff up under there. As far as those little, let me get this camera flipped around here so we're dead air. I'm gonna put these little holdies that go up under on that harness. Give it a good look over on the bottom side, and then as soon as I've got to strap on, say that word, Don Lamont gets excited. I gotta put my air snorkely tubey thing on there, put that line on, that vacuum hose goes on over there, a couple of little retaining zippy strappies, and by that time, maybe hopefully my thermostat will be here. I'll go ahead and put I've got the hose assembly. I just left it all as one. It's right here. Matter of fact, let's grab it out of there. And when I get that, we'll zip that on. Then I'll set the camera up and we'll do the first crank up. You and me, guys, we'll do the first crank up. And we'll get to hear what it sounds like on the initial start. Did I do everything right? Does it start up? Does it turn over? We're going to find out how well I did putting this motor in, and whether or not I've got to clear codes and plug in stuff I forgot. I think we're going to be okay, guys, but like I say, we'll do that live, so get ready. Hello, everybody. All right, now, got the battery charged up, and we're going to do the startup. Let's see if this thing, let's see what happens here. We'll prop the camera up so you can see in front. This is the first start, guys. You never want the customer around, but we're going to let a bunch of people on YouTube see what happens, because sometimes things don't always go according to plan, but this is it. Okay, the initial startup was, that noise was oil getting to all the timing chain guides and everything. I pre-filled the oil filter. Filters were probably bled down from sitting on the shelf for a while. And then you know, just the computer readjusting. Just before it was the battery's completely dead. It's been hooked for several days. But all in all, I think it's pretty successful. The oil pressure came on up like it was supposed to. Let's get a look at the motor real quick, guys. We got to take that off. We're charging. Move this out of the way. We'll let it on, get it on the ground. I don't see any leaks, so I can actually get underneath it with it on the ground anyhow, so no big deal. Oh, sounded really good. It's a heavy truck, guys. 350, four-wheel drive. But wow, motor sounds really, really good. Kind of letting these arms all the way down. I think we got it right though. Everything looks just like it did when I took it apart, if not better. Got our shield across the back of the hook here. I'm just letting this, leave this cap off, purging the air in the system that's out. We'll top that fluid off a little bit. We'll run it through the gears and check the transmission fluid. But yeah, and so we'll take it for a test drive here in just a few seconds, guys. All right, here we go, maiden voyage. We'll back up out of here. Let's see, not run over nothing or anything. Sounds good though, things real good. There's the gauges. Now the tire light, it's not like out of my hands, one of the sensors is bad in the wheel. Alrighty. I checked all fluids, we're looking good. Topped off with a little bit of oil. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There goes my buddy's house on the left over there. He's a good dude. He's a watcher of both channels actually. Give him a shout out, old Will Brooks. Maybe he'll see this. This was a long video, guys, so if you made it through the whole thing, you guys all rock. That really helps my watch time on this channel to get this thing monetized, and that way we can further use our resources to do what we need to do to help do what we do when we do on the other channel. I can't say what that is because of what it is, but you know what it is. That's my seatbelt light. That's the man right there holding me down, telling me what to do. And we're just gonna not pay any attention right now. So far, everything's looking really, really good. We've got great oil pressure, great engine temperature. Yes, trans temperature is looking really, really good, so that's good. We like a happy trans. Yes. Inclusive to all forms of driveline, whether it's CVT and or final or transverse. I'm not listening to the beep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh boy, bump. And no, we're not going to see if it does a burnout. It's not my vehicle, but if it was my vehicle, we'd see if it'd do a burnout. We'd have to try out the old low-end torque spectrum of the variable valve time. And by the way, I'll do a video on the engine that failed and what happened, and I'll explain a little bit about valve train. And let's see if it takes the, oh yeah. People look at that motor, that's a big motor. And the guy was just here at the shop a second ago with a Mustang. It's got a 351 Windsor in it. He's an older feller. He says, that's a big old motor. I said, the motor in your Mustang's bigger. He's like, the hell you say? I was like, that's only 330 cubic inches, 5.4 liter. And I said, you've got 351, so really your motor's bigger than this one. It just looks smaller because of the valve train. That's aggravating. The valve train system setup makes those 330 cubic inch motors look a whole lot bigger than what they actually normally would be. Ford makes an 8-liter overhead valve. I've seen them in wreckers. They're gas motors, but they're overhead valve. They don't have that timing chaining stuff. And they were a lot better motors. All right, well, we're about to pull up back at the shop here. And I just want to thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Y'all have a great one. Like I said, thank you guys very much. We're going to end this video with a successful story of engine swapping. And at some point in time, I'll shoot a video on what happened to that motor, like I said earlier. Let's call it interesting, a little teardown. Gives you an idea what some of the valve train looks like, what the timing chains look like, what their jobs are. And if you own one of these trucks, you can get an idea of what's actually making that noise by actually seeing what's in that thing and how it all works. And I'll do that. I'm looking forward. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And y'all be safe out there. Lots of love, guys, in control.